Welcome to another episode of YLG Canada Immigration Podcast, where all your immigration questions will be answered by an experienced immigration lawyer. My name is Ryan, and today we continue talking about New Brunswick Provincial Nominee Program. So this is great news for those entrepreneurs out there looking into obtaining a Canadian PR through NBPNP. So you talked about the minimum requirements very briefly. Let's expand upon them and get to know them better. Business requirements. What are they?
It's basically says your business must be of economic benefit to the province.
Who is going to determine that?
Definitely is a PETL, which is Provincial Authority for Immigration Program under this specific program. So it's a provincial jurisdiction to consider to decide is it economic benefit or not. You must have a minimum of 33% ownership and also an active senior management role in a day-to-day operation of the business. That's other thing. Keep in mind, there are some business structure in Canada. It can be a partnership, it can be some other thing, but personally, I recommend corporation, means incorporate business in Canada, because there are benefits to having incorporation business in Canada other than running a personally, because a partnership and other type of them is like more personal. It's just the name. If something goes wrong and then they come after your personal asset. One more thing, for corporation, usually in Canada, there is a requirement of a Canadian residency. Means one of the directors must be a Canadian resident. Again, is another requirement of our business requirement. And then definitely has to be for profit, not the non-profit. It doesn't make sense because it says economic benefits.
All right. So for the business to be economically beneficial to New Brunswick, what features does that need to have?
You need to consider a few things, like the business plan. You need to show somehow potential to create significant economic benefit through something like enhanced research and development of innovative approaches to traditional businesses, or enhancement of new technologies. You remember I said about this, we discussed about the startup program?
Yes.
That's the key again here.
You need to bring something into the country that we already do not have, or if we do, it's not perfect.
Yeah, exactly. If you say, okay, I'm going to buy a restaurant and then that restaurant is a franchise, you cannot be. There are some business restrictions too. You cannot get into those businesses. Those are not excluded type of business.
You need to tap into your creativity, folks. All right, let's talk about money. What about investment? What is it that you must do in terms of capital?
As you recall, I said this is not the investment program, right?
Yes.
An entrepreneur must invest in a business. What business? The entrepreneur must make an eligible business investment of not less than $250,000 before tax. New Brunswick Immigration Office will not consider items purchased for personal use, including your principal residence, motor vehicle, and some other thing. So you cannot, because I know people, they say, okay, can I buy a property and live there and also use as my business place too?
Of course not.
No. 250,000 must go to the business. It's an investment to the business. One more thing is, with that money you invest, you must have something close to 1/3 of the equity of the business. So if the business is, for example, 750,000 value, then you are fine by buying 1/3 of the business. But if the business is 250,000 all, so you need to get 100% ownership of the business.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it all comes down to the value of the business that you're purchasing.
It can be through buying a new business, establishing new business. When you say establishing a new business, you are fine because you're going to have a business plan. There are some requirements and there is like some guideline how to run, how to divide the expenses. But when you say purchasing a business, there is like kind of a scam here. So if you, for example, you have a cousin, you say, okay, you know what? I'm selling my business 250,000 to you. Purchasing established New Brunswick business has eligibility requirement again.
You are listening to YLG Podcast with Afshin Yazdani, exploring the latest news, tips, and strategies about immigration to Canada.
You said that obviously by purchasing some property or cars, we're not going to be eligible. What if I purchase an established business in Canada? Would that automatically make me eligible?
Good question, Ryan. The point is, with 250,000 before tax, you can do either purchase a new business, existing business, or establish a new business. You want to buy a business in New Brunswick under this program. That business must have some features, some document, and those documents are, for example, I'm not listing the whole thing, but I'm trying to explain. One of the things, for example, it says the business has been continuous operation by the same owner for the 3 years before the purchase date. So it's not like you buy a business, flip it to someone else, and then someone else also get the PR, and then no, it's not like that. You must buy a business from someone who were this owner of the business for 3 years, and that guy is a permanent resident or Canadian citizen. That's one thing. Okay. Another thing is, when I say 3 years, means the business has to be running for 3 years. So it's not, you cannot establish a business now and sell it to someone.
Okay. That's
the main thing. And then there are requirements like you need to have a financial statement. The seller of the property or the business must provide 3 years financial statement, audited one, not something like when you do it by yourself. Has to be through the official way. And then you must have also a continued employment to existing staff or similar term. For example, if the business in New Brunswick has, let's say, has 5 employees, you're going to keep them.
I remember you saying that before anything happens, you need to meet the minimum score requirement, which is 65. How is this calculated?
As you recall, I explained before, it's like based on age, language, education, personal network, business ownership, and senior management experience, plus business concept and adaptability. These are like selection factors. So from age prospect, you must be between 22 to 50 years of age. That's the must. So if you are 56, then you most probably are not eligible at all.
Oh.
Okay, so that's one thing. And then the point is the age calculate based on the ITA, invitation to apply. The best age for this program is like 35 to 50, which can get 10 points. And another thing is you must have an official language test like English or French. And then that has to be under Canadian language benchmark CLB 5. Or again, for French, is the same thing. Again, it's called NCLC5. That's the minimum requirement. So if you don't have a CLB5 in English, for example, you are not eligible to this program. Somehow there are tests like a CLB is not itself is a test, is like
it's like a benchmark.
Is a benchmark, exactly. So to meet that thing, you need to go through the IELTS, the general, not the academic. And other than this, there is in Canada something they call CELPIP, CELPIP. Again, that's another thing. And then for French, we have TEF or TEF and TCF. So these are the tests. If you go, I have a TOEFL. Yeah, I have a Duolingo test. Is it fine?
It doesn't work like that.
No, it has to be through this. So this is the minimum. And for a minimum, it says, when I say IELTS 5, for example, or Canadian Language Benchmark 5 means reading 4, writing 5, listening 5, speaking 5, for example. And then if it's a CELPIP, it's all 5. And then you have is something, again, a minimum requirement of education, which is 2 years post-secondary education after high school diploma. And that should be equal to something they call the ECA. ECA is an educational credential assessment by Canada, is a report. If you get the ECA, then inside the ECA, it has to say it's equal to 2 years post-secondary education in Canada. So if you have something less, you are not, again, eligible. So it's not just the point base, other than the point scoring, getting extra point. You must meet this minimum.
All right.
And then, so you're definitely, I think everybody interested in immigration to Canada understand ECA runs through some designated organization, including Board Education Service. It's like a WES. And there are some professionals, they have to send their document to those professionals, like a Medical Council of Canada for doctors, Pharmacy Examining Board of Canada for pharmacists. So they should not send their document to WES.
Good to know.
And some people, they are confused about this part too. So this is one thing. As I said, the minimum is 15 point if you have 2 years. And then if you have like a master degree or a PhD, you're going to have 25 points.
Obviously, the higher, the more score. Okay.
Yeah, maximum is 25. Then another item is personal net worth. The personal net worth, it means the value of total asset less than the value of total liabilities. So if you have mortgage, loan, some other thing, credit line or something,
that will be liability.
That will be liability. So minus those things. Personal net, the net worth. At that, it will be personal, not in a business. Has to be under your name or your wife's name. That's it. There is nothing else. And then that much money, it has to be at least 600,000, which 300,000 must be liquid. And then out of this 600. And that 600,000 again must be verifiable. How can verify? Can you send someone in your own country to verify your personal net worth? No, it has to go through accounting. If you have money in a bank account, you are fine because it's the bank. You have a bank statement. I have 600,000. But if you say I have, for example, properties, real estate, stock on some shares and some other things, so for that thing, it has to be verified. By who? Government of New Brunswick has 3 specific name designated organization. They do this, so they must go through that thing, and they're gonna pay for that for the service. So when you verify it, it's valid only for 12 months. And then finally is a business concept. You need to understand, as we mentioned before, they're looking for how you benefit economic benefit Canada. How that going to be inside the business concept and the business plan. So there are some requirements. They say, okay, these are business concept is economic benefit to the New Brunswick, and then if you do this, and then you're going to get 15 points for that thing.
So we talked about all the stages and requirements. I think it's time to talk about the steps. What are the steps involved?
There are about 7 to 8 steps, which start by PR readiness, means like a self-assessment. Are you fine? If you can handle the document, you have everything after reading the whole thing. So somehow you consult with a lawyer, for example, and then say, okay, you are ready, you are fine. And then after that will be a registration, and the online registration. You need to, the candidate must have a profile. It's like an online candidate profile. And then there are some asking some personal question, and also asking for if you want to have a lawyer in your file or not. On steps 3 is an expression of interest, as I mentioned before, EOI. And then through the profile, you're going to submit an EOI, and then you're going to have that thing for a maximum of 24 months. Under this program, before doing the submission, you must have visited New Brunswick for at least 5 business days. This province, you cannot submit an expression of interest. Mm-hmm. If you are from a country, you need to get a visa. So you need to get a visa. You need to apply for multiple, like entry visitor visa, and come on your multiple entry visa. You can explain, I'm coming for this program, and the purpose of my visit is to explore the province. So that's one of the things. So that can be done, and then has to be 5 days. And when they say 5 business days, means 1 week, because Saturday, Sunday, it's not the business day. So 1 week. So for 1 week, for example, you need to have your hotel booked, and then flight booked, everything ready. Then when you apply for EOI, and then they ask you, yeah, you are fine, you can apply now for a nomination, you need to provide the document which prove you have been in the province for at least 5 days in past 2 years. If lucky and score enough, you're gonna get the invitation to apply. If you get that thing, you have up to 90 calendar days, not the business days, to submit a complete application. Mm-hmm. And then if you get, then after that, you're gonna step 5, you apply. Then you need to prepare a business plan. And then you got a decision from New Brunswick Immigration Office. If it's approved, you are nominated, and then you will receive a letter with instruction for submitting a signed and dated business performance agreement and the deposit of 100,000 Canadian dollar to the province immigration office within 60 days after the issuance of the letter. But if you get refused, that will be something. And if the refusal is based on a misrepresentation, you cannot do it. You cannot do anything until 5 years pass. And if you get the refusal in the standard thing, you will get a letter of refusal, and there is no appeal process.
There is a lot to be done, but definitely worth it. Thank you very much for the input. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you for having me. I hope to talk to you soon again.
Thanks for listening to another episode of YLG Canada Immigration Podcast with Afshin Yazdani. You can get more information on immigration to Canada from ylgpc.ca. We're trying to make this show more interactive, so please feel free to send us your questions to podcast@ylgpc.ca. Do tune in next time as we're going to unpack some other mysteries of immigration to Canada. Take care.